This GT3RS was fully submerged underwater. And I still bought it. Yes! And now that's left me with this. And this. And it turns out if you drive literally a brand new car into a couple of trees and then into a river, it fills everything with water. Oh! Oh! And now I've got to work out whether this car is actually repairable or I've just completely wasted $130,000 of my own money. And there's one question we all wanted answering. How on earth did such a rare and expensive car end up like this in the first place? Well, today, we speak to the previous owner.
Well, we went on a joyride and I didn't know the roads well at all.
So this is the decision maker, the deal breaker, we think. If this engine is no good, I've effectively bought nothing. We're hoping now, there was a lot of water in this and we've poured the fluid on top of the pistons, underneath the pistons, and now we can drain all of that fluid out, and this is going to be the time where we turn over the engine, and if it damages the cylinders, then this engine's got to be stripped apart and we've got to rebuild it. A lot of people will be screaming for us to rebuild it anyway, but it needs a lot of special tools to rebuild it, which we don't have. At the minute, if we can get away with not doing that, it's a win-win situation. So let's get this fluid out first. So right now, I'm pumping out all of the oil and WD-40 that we left inside the engine that would hope would clear out all of the rust in there. Oh, that's so rusty. Oh. Because if we were to turn the engine over with the rust in the cylinder, the piston would go up and score the side of the cylinders, which would effectively ruin this engine.
How are we looking?
I'm in. And although the oil and WD-40 seems to have cleaned some of the rust off, not all of it's gone.
It's all sat in there now, isn't it?
Yeah, we need to get that out, really.
This cylinder needs to be spotless. And when we flip the camera around, we can see it on the top of the valves that there's still rust there. And on the valve seats.
Look at the seats at the top.
You're gonna have to do a valve job. Definitely gonna have to take that off and do a valve job.
So when the valves try to close, if they don't fully close because rust is in the way, then we could lose a lot of power from the engine. And then our main concern, the cylinder walls.
Oh.
They're still covered in rust.
Can't turn that over.
Yeah, that's bad. Okay, this is not good news. All of this means that we can't turn over the engine because we could risk damaging it. $40,000 worth of engine, and we don't want to damage it. And we also, to fix this now, we've got to take the cylinder heads off each side, clean out the inside, and possibly, when we do that, we're going to have to replace head gaskets, we're going to have to replace head bolts, and we're also going to need special tools as well. So we're going to have to order them before we even start on this, but it is not looking good. Not what we expected. To even think about fixing this engine, we've got to strip it apart. And neither me or my dad have had any experience in doing Porsche engines at all. And on top of that, even if we do manage to fix the engine, we still don't really have a good car to put it in. This is the shell. Now, we've had a long think about it and was hoping that someone might be able to help us, but because these cars are so rare and they're so hard to get hold of, it was next to impossible to find a shell out here. Then the other option was to fix it. So to fix this, we're going to need a quarter panel, and then we're also going to need all of the inner structure. We're going to need a roof. We need all of this front tub. It's like $17,000 worth of front tub here. Anything's repairable at a cost. But for the price that we got this for, and the time and the labour we've spent doing all of this, it's really not worth it. I honestly didn't expect it to be this badly damaged. But we've got a solution, and it's in the UK. And this is the solution. Talisa, the tub. I forgot which eye to wink.
Join all the others who hate.
But as you can see, Talisa isn't exactly in the best shape herself. But the good news is that this is a left-hand drive tub. So we're hoping that this tub can be repaired and we can put everything off the wet Porsche onto Talisa to make a good one. This tub has come from Germany, and because it's so badly damaged, it can't actually be put back on the road in Germany. But that doesn't mean it can't be put back on the road in another country. But to get Talisa from here to here, was insanely expensive, and we can't even permanently export that shell to the US. Because Talisa is a German car with a German VIN, it can only be temporarily imported into the US for a year. Then it has to go back. So effectively, what we've got to do is take all the parts that are good off this, which isn't much, including the engine, and bring it back home and rebuild it there. This is one of the craziest builds we've even attempted to do, and it's now bouncing between two countries. I think we can do it. Back to the UK. No, back to the US.
Swing low.
The Porsche is coming home. Hey, this is so light. Well, at least most of it. This is a good door. Unplugging the seat. We still have no idea whether any of the electrics in this car actually work. We still don't have the key to even find out. What we can only hope is that the main fuses after the battery have blown so that none of the current travelled to the modules or all the computers in the car whilst it was underwater. And the main fuses are located underneath the dashboard. Right. This is where all the main fuses are for the car. Do you know what would have been so much more simpler if they just put that side? But instead they put it underneath the dash because they thought, ha, prank.
They've got us twice for this prank, haven't they?
Yeah, they have pranked us twice, haven't they? Why are we doing it again? The first fuse I'm going to check is the pyro fuse, which is the fuse which blows when an airbag deploys in a car, which then prevents you from restarting the car because it cuts power directly to the starter motor. Okay. Right. Multimeter. So, you see, when they touch, it makes a beep. So, if something's passing through it, it should beep. So, let's see if this is going to beep. We're hopefully no beep. Yes. Power fuse is gone. Just to check. Power here. Nothing there. So, no beep. Next thing, these are all the main fuses for the car here. Going to the body and all that sort of stuff. What do we reckon? That's not good. Yeah. So that's okay. That's okay. This wasn't great. It seems like none of the fuses have blown. All the fuses are fine. And because of that, they haven't protected anything in the car. Okay.
So the fact that the fuses are good, why is that a bad thing?
Because if the fuse had blown here, it would have protected everything else in the car.
Oh.
So because they're not they're not blown here, it means electric would have passed down through them and possibly into the, say, the instrument cluster and broke that completely.
Because that's where the water would be.
Not ideal, but that's the risk I took. So I'm not going to find out whether any of these electrics work until I turn the key, which didn't come with the car. But after we put out the previous video, we found someone who may know where the key is.
Bro, yeah, dude, no, I saw it, saw you guys looking for the key. I'm like, those keys are in my living room.
Are they?
Dude, when I crashed the car, it got taken to a tow truck shop. I was like, I need to get the fire hydrant. I'm keeping that as memorabilia in my living room.
This is the previous owner of the GT3RS, the guy that crashed it and bought it from new. We've got a lot of questions to ask. How many miles did you do on the car?
So on this car, I had about, 200 something miles. I bought it the day before from Porsche Bellevue.
Yep.
The guy I had in my passenger seat, he's the one who spec'd the car.
Yep.
And I drove to his house. I don't know him. I'm not like close friends with him, but I bought the car that he waited for.
Did you buy the allocation of him then?
Yeah, he backed out of it.
No way.
So I bought it. I paid $150 over, and then I drove the car to his house. I was like, I want the guy to see what he ordered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he can at least enjoy it. We went on a joyride, and I didn't know the roads well at all. Sharp ass curve, and obviously there's pollen and yeah, kind of a bad decision going out there. But
Was it fast? Was it quite fast when you crashed then?
We were going over the speed limit.
Did you end up in the water, or did you get out before it went in the water?
No, bro, we were in the water in the car.
No way!
Dude, my passenger cracks his door open, he couldn't get it open, sees water coming in.
No way!
Shove mine open and we both get out my side. Swim to the cliff, climb up the cliff. I turn my head back and I see the wings sticking out of the water.
Oh my god! So that's how the car crashed. But what I wanted to know was whether the car was running when it went into the water. And if it was, it could be there's even more damage to the engine. The main question is as well, was the car running when it went in the water?
I know you really want to know that. So we hit like one tree. I think the car did a 180, hit another tree, and that's where it went straight into the water. So I don't know if on impact, because obviously airbags deployed, right?
Oh,
I don't know if on impact, if the car's computer will cut the engine. I don't know. Maybe.
More news I didn't want to hear. If that car went into the water with the engine on, it could have sucked up water into the cylinder, and then when the pistons tried to go up in the cylinder, it's tried to compress the water, which could potentially have bent a conrod.
I hope you guys have a good one and good luck with the build.
Legend.
I'll be keeping eyes on it.
I'll catch you in a bit.
Yes, sir.
Bye.
Peace.
Bye. We don't even know if that engine is any good.
I hope the engine stopped before they went in.
We thought it turned off before it went in the water. But how do we know that it wasn't the water that turned it off? Oh my days.
Also, he paid £150,000 overs for this car.
Yeah.
So I don't know who got more ripped off. Was it him or you?
Regardless, I've still got a Porsche GT3RS to strip down and get home to the UK. I'm not going to find out whether any of this actually works until I build it all back up. We know the pyro view's cut out, but that only stops you from restarting the car. I'm not sure it actually turns off the car once the airbags deploy. Now we've got the engine in a pallet, it's time to strip down the rest of the car. We're taking anything that might be salvageable. Whoa! My dad's built up a huge pallet to make into a massive box, and all of this is coming home. Off goes the engine back to the UK. Let's go. To Lisa. We're back in the UK, and as you can tell from the coldness in here, ideally we wanted this out in the US, but we couldn't make it happen. But that means this car's staying in the UK. Come on! It is left-hand drive, and it will stay left-hand drive because we've got all the left-hand drive parts. We can't convert it to right-hand drive because it does seem the tub is completely different from a right-hand drive one to a left-hand drive one. But now we've got to deal with this. We're not in the all clear just yet. You might think we've all gone completely mental because this doesn't seem financially worth it. Well, actually, it does. Because this can't be put back on the road in Germany because of all this damage, I think it has actually been on its roof. There's a kink actually in the roof there. That doesn't mean it can't be put back on the road in the UK, providing we can get this thing running and fixed. The tub, to Lisa, is actually okay, apart from a few bits of damage here. We've got dented quarter, clearly the roof's gone in. We've got an A-pillar, which is completely smashed here. We've got a rear quarter panel, which is completely smashed here. And other than that, it's all good, but it's a lot better than the one that we had in the US. £30,000 this tub cost me, which I think is a pretty good deal. And for an extra 15, I've got the wiring loom with some modules, it seems. So I bought the wet GT3RS for £100,000 and the tub with the wiring loom and a few modules for £45,000. which leaves me into this build at £145,000. Way under what these cars are worth. But there's no good having a tub if we don't have a good engine to put into it. This is the decider. Is this engine salvageable? We're about to find out. Okay, so to get inside of the cylinders to the rust that we need to clear out, we need to take the cylinder head off. When you take the cylinder head off, you're supposed to replace the head bolts and the head gaskets, and I've actually ordered them from Porsche. First thing we want to do is mark up exactly where everything is, so when we put it back together, we'll be able to know exactly where it was and where it was timed up, because we don't really have a manual on how to do this. When you take apart an engine, you're supposed to turn it over so the engine sits on what we call TDC, top dead center. That way it's easier to take apart and easier to put back together. But as you all know, we can't turn over the engine at the minute because we risk damaging the inside of it. So we've now just got to mark up where the engine sits at the minute, then we can start stripping it apart. I don't know how this is going to work, but it's $40,000 on the line if it doesn't work.
Feeling confident?
I'm always confident.
Once I've got the wiring out of the way of one side, we can then turn the engine up and I can start dismantling 3 cylinders on one side of the engine. First off is the exhaust manifold. And once I got that off, I started unbolting the camshaft variators, which are electronically controlled. I still have no idea how, so you're gonna have to bear with me. Well, that's not what I expected to see. I don't think that's really helped us in any way. Again, because we're unsure on how any of this works, and because we've never done it before, we're being extra careful just to mark everything on where it sits now, because we know that the engine is timed up correctly. So worst case scenario, when we reassemble this engine, we make sure everything lines up with the blue marks that we've done with the paint pen. That way we can be sure it's all good. Once we've done that, now I can lift off the rocker cover, which reveals 2 camshafts. These are the camshafts. On the engine, this side is the intake camshaft, and what these do with these lobes here like that, as they rotate when the engine turns around, it then goes down and pushes down a valve to open either the intake or the exhaust valve, which this one you can see is pushed down. The cam lobe is pushing that one down, opening the exhaust valve, but on this side, the intake valve is closed because the camshaft is pointing upwards. Now, if you were to mess up the timing and have them going around the wrong way round, or they're not in time with each other, then when a piston comes up, it could smash the valve and the whole car would just be obliterated. It would just be no good. So it is so important right now that we mark exactly where this is, because we have to get it back in the exact same location. There are special tools which you're supposed to do this with. We don't have them. If we do it without, magic.
Use that. So,
now my dad is making even more marks with the paint pen, so we can put everything back where it was. And the next job is to remove these camshafts, because underneath them are the bolts to remove the cylinder head. First thing we've got to do to remove the camshafts is make sure that this chain is slack, because right now it's super tight. And the thing that's making it tight is the tensioner. Look at that. So this fills with oil through there, I think. Pushes, all oil is underneath this. And this is pushing against the chain to keep it nice and tight. After that, we need to remove the cam variators. These cogs here, which the chain sits on. As soon as we get this out, we'll be able to lift the camshafts out, because this chain is not slack enough to lift it.
so we're using the Porsche tool
and an adjustable spanner. These do require a special tool to remove, but as you can see, we don't have that, and it seems we needed it. Our screwdriver and spanner wasn't enough, so we had to think outside the box and try and get it off without using that tool, which my dad managed to do.
Yes!
And that's both camshafts out. Now we can access the bolts for the cylinder head. Once you remove these bolts, you're meant to replace them when rebuilding the engine, along with the head gasket as well. And when I ordered these from Porsche, they were pretty curious, because there's not been many orders for them, as they mentioned that these engines just don't go wrong. Oh, it's milky down here. And that's the cylinder head off. And it's not looking good.
guys.
A little bit of a problem.
It's very bad.
Right.
Oh, nice.
That. Oh, look, what's all this? Is that the. What is that? Well, it's a good job we didn't turn the engine over, because you can see now what we were scared of. Well, what do we do? Because either way now, if we want to take the block out, the piston's got to slide up or down to take the block off. So either way, at some point it's got to rotate. So we either try and clean this up and then turn it over, which we probably should just do. But before we do that, we should do the other side as well. Now, we're one step closer to turning this engine over. The cylinders don't look great, but we have much better access now at cleaning them before we do turn it over. But before we do, we've still got to strip the other side of the engine apart. And once we get this apart, we won't be able to visually see whether any of the conrods are bent, but we will be able to tell when we turn the engine over, because some of the pistons won't rise all the way to the top of the cylinder.
That looks rusty.
If anything, this side of the engine looks worse than the other. There's a lot of rust in these cylinders, and if we turned it over like this, it would for sure ruin it. So now I'm pouring in some cleaner into the cylinders, which should hopefully break down that rust. Fingers crossed. Well, I thought this was going to be like, really, I thought was going to make such good progress right now, but there is some potential that this engine was running when it went into the water. And one thing that we are slightly worried about here is it's this cylinder. We've put in this rust off thing to try and get the rust out. Right, can you see this black mark here? See that?
Yeah.
Now that feels like it feels lower than the cylinder, if you know. So it's not raised up with rust. It feels like it's pitting inside. But like, why would it only be like that on that part there? We're trying to think, why is it like that? It feels rough. The only thing I can think of is that the rust is actually ate away at the cylinder wall. If it has done that, I think I've wasted even more money on a tub.
So how are we going to know for sure?
I think we're just going to have to commit to turning it over. I genuinely thought we was going to rebuild the engine in this video. I thought that was the plan. I thought with the engine would be rebuilt, we'd turn it over and we'd be like, okay, let's move on to that tub. Like, now I actually don't know what we're going to do. The only thing we can do is try and clean these cylinders the best we can. But at the same time, we don't want to damage them. So I'm only using some wire wool just to run around the edge of the cylinders with a little bit of WD-40 to hopefully clean off all of this rust.
Tony, have you ate yet?
No.
We're going to be here for a while, so I think we're going to need to.
Shall we have some of our favourite food?
I think we should.
So whilst I continued to try and clean out all 6 cylinders, and I could only clean out the top half of them, my dad and Matt went over to go grab us a Y food.
Oh, which one shall we have? Happy banana!
We need to stay happy, so we need happy banana.
But this was proving to be tough.
It's all really dark.
I still couldn't budge any of the stains off the cylinder walls. This engine might now be a coffee table inside my office.
That's an expensive coffee table.
It's a good coffee table.
Now that I did my best with 3 cylinders on one side of the engine, it's time to move over to the other 3 cylinders on the other side. It's gone.
Yeah, that's had it.
Left the chat.
That's
not working anymore. Well, let's look on the positives.
It's going to be a nice table.
This is it then. We've done all we can. We've done all we can. If we take it apart, the cylinders are going to scrape. If we turn it over, the cylinders are likely to scrape. This is the moment we've been waiting for. Let's see if it turns over. If it turns over and it doesn't scrape the cylinders, winner. If it don't, which we're expecting, I don't know what we're going to do, but all I know, I'm going to have a sip of Happy Banana to at least cheer the mood a bit. Let's turn this thing over. My dad's going to use this now to turn over the flywheel, which is attached to the crank, and the crank is attached to the conrods, and the conrods are attached to the pistons, which are inside the cylinders, which could potentially be broken. 26 vitamins and minerals in one of these. It's high in fibre, high in protein, lactose-free, gluten-free, and there's no added sugar. It's a meal replacement drink, this.
But now it's time to finally turn over the Porsche engine.
Are we ready then?
We're hoping it's not seized.
It turns over. No way.
The engine was actually moving, which is a good sign for the conrods.
Two piston coming up.
If you're constantly on the go, like us, one of these meal replacement drinks is perfect for one of you guys.
It is. I'll be using Y food for lunch and breakfast sometimes if I'm in a rush. And the best thing about it, there's loads of different flavours to choose from.
Seems that I'm surprised it turned over, which is positive. It could mean we might not have a bent rod.
The fact that this engine is turning over and the pistons are getting right to the top of the cylinders is proving that the conrods aren't bent. So the engine probably did shut off before it went into the water.
It seems like we don't have bent rods. What you guys can do is grab a Y food taster pack to find your favourite flavour with the link in the description box below, and with my discount code appearing on the screen right now, you get a discount off that taster pack. If you want to start feeling healthier by not eating fast food at lunchtime, this is a perfect chance.
Well, that's some good news. Now we're flipping over the engine to check the other side.
Yeah, that's at the top. I would say none of the rods are bent.
So would you say none of the rods are bent, but the pistons, the sleeves are damaged?
I think the sleeves, I don't think you can run a sleeve like that. I don't know. I don't know what you do in this situation.
The engine seems all good, apart from the cylinder sleeves. And these need to be perfect. And if these are damaged, the engine's no good. Unlike some cylinder blocks where you can actually re-sleeve it because the sleeves are removable, this Porsche engine is one solid bit of aluminium, so it's not possible to do so.
Hello.
We need your help and opinion.
Oh god.
If this was in an engine that you were rebuilding, what would you do? Can you see that?
That mark.
And it feels kind of rough. It has been underwater.
That's corrosion. That looks like the alley seal's peeled off, mate.
When these Porsche engine blocks are built, the cylinder bores are coated with a special spray, which is supposed to reduce friction and reduce heat in the cylinder and is corrosion resistant to an extent. That's unless the cylinder is full of water, and it seems like the rust has ate away at that coating. And when that happens, the cylinder is no good to anyone.
So what's the solution to that?
Put a new block in it.
Brilliant.
It'll run. It'll run. It'll probably smoke. And then it'll basically, the ring and the liner will just tear themselves to bits.
So now I have to make a decision. I've already bought a whole new tub, but to fix this engine, it looks like I've got to buy another cylinder block. I'm not sure what to do.
Okay, so verdict's in from Ricky, which makes sense. So it's aluminium block, which is coated, and the coating has come off. We've just sent the VIN number to Ricky, and he's going to have a look at how much a block is. We're about to find out how much more money we can waste on this car. What text? This could be the decision maker. £6,346 plus VAT. So if we commit, this is the problem. We need everyone's opinion on this. Because if we commit to buying this block, not only are we committing to fully rebuilding the engine then, we also don't know if the gearbox works. We don't know if any of the electrics work in the car. We've still got damage to the roof, the quarter panels, the A-pillars. We don't have a wing, headlights, bumper, bonnet, rear bumper. Like, we're at the very, very bottom of the mountain. So we need... I think if I buy this, I've committed. Is it worth it? I don't know. Yeah, I think this is a tough one. I really wanted to rebuild this engine in this video, but we weren't expecting this. And this is the thing, when a car gets dunked underwater, what do you expect? Thanks so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. The turtle just calls Nemo Jellyman because he was in with a jellyfish. And it's like, oh, jelly dude.
like a drug that I just can't deny.